He's been advisor to Presidents Clinton and Trump, and now he's here to advise us all. Dick Morris is on 77 WABC.
Clowns to the left of me, jokers to the right. Here I am, stuck in the middle with you. Yes, I'm stuck in.
Hi, welcome to the Dick Morris and Doug Dipierro show.
Hey, Dick, how you doing?
Hey, Doug, how are you doing?
Let me just
Good.
throw out the call-in number real fast before, because I'm remote and Dick is in the studio. Could you imagine?
You're always remote.
800-848-9222. 800-848-9222. And one more thing. If you listened, I know you were setting up for the show. You probably didn't hear Joe Concha, who's fantastic. I love that guy. He said Don Lemon's probably going to go to jail with that church thing, and he was there. And I go, so I was thinking, listen, when you give him Don Lemon, you got better make lemonade in jail.
That's good. You know what I call you? Sometimes you're hard to find. I call you Doug Dipierro.
And when I come back,
Doug Reapiro.
Now that's funny. All right.
Okay, so the big news.
I'm offended.
The big news right now is that John McLaughlin has just finished a poll. He does them every month. Mm-hmm. And McLaughlin is the only one who has been consistently and totally 100% accurate in his polling of Donald Trump.
100%.
He predicted that Trump would win the election. He predicted Trump would win the popular vote. He predicted each of the 7 swing states going for Trump. And he has had a finding that is incredible, and I told the president about this over the phone 2 days ago. He has found in every single one of his monthly polls, every single one, from November of 2025 until now, 10 months of monthly polling, that every month Donald Trump's job approval is exactly the same.
That's amazing.
It goes from 47 to 50%. In 1 or 2 months it's been 51 or 52. But basically 47 to 50. And right now it is 49%. Last month it was 50. And, in the election of 24, Trump won with 49.8% of the vote. So Trump said to me on the phone, is that good? Is that enough? I said, yeah, it's exactly what you won with in 24. It shows that you can win with that. It shows that it's not just a question of your base. A solid majority of the American people like you, support everything you're doing, and are not dropping away when there is criticism of you in the media. So it's an incredible finding. Trump was really energized by it. He asked me to send him a memo, and he said he's going to get it all over the place.
Did you send it?
Yes, I did.
Of course you did.
On Monday, it'll probably be all over Truth Social. The newest update from the Cook Political Report is here, and it shows a clear pathway to victory for Republicans to maintain control of the House of Representatives as we head into the November midterm election season. The July 16th report shows Republicans are likely to come away with 212 seats and have classified further 18 as toss-up. They need 216, I think, to keep control. No, 216. 14 of these...
Slow down. So 212... 14.
212 they've got definitely done. There are another 18 as toss-ups. 14 of these toss-ups are either currently held by a Republican incumbent or now open seats that were previously held by Republicans. Mm-hmm. Republicans only need to win 6 toss-up races of the 18 to keep control. And 14 of these open seats are held by Republicans. And their prospects of maintaining majority are boosted by the enormous fundraising advantage. So these are all districts that Trump carried in 2024. So they need 6 other seats beyond the ones they have. Mm. And there are 18 toss-ups, 14 of which are currently held by Republicans, all of which Trump won in 2024. Now, there's a massive disinformation campaign going on, as always, that says Trump is losing and he's underwater and he's losing support. But that is not true. And it's very important. This is one of the few places where you'll get the truth. Trump is in fact ahead. He's winning, and he will win. Meantime, in the Democratic primary, AOC is picking up steam. Currently, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Currently, in a poll among New Hampshire voters, she actually leads in New Hampshire. Now, New Hampshire will not be the first primary. The first one will be in South Carolina. Mm-hmm. The Democrats just adopted a rule saying that they'll make South Carolina their first primary. New Hampshire probably will be the second because of its state law.
Did they do that the last time around, 4 years ago?
I don't know, but they have always moved up South Carolina because it's largely a black primary. There's a high percentage of blacks. Like in the Democratic primary, 40% or so. Mm-hmm. And they moved it up so that Biden could win it after he lost the first three primaries in New Hampshire, Iowa, and one other state. Right. So they moved up South Carolina to stop the bleeding. And then they scheduled Super Tuesday for 1 week after, a few days after South Carolina, so that the blacks throughout the South knew who to vote for, and they all voted for Biden. Mm-hmm. And that got him the nomination. And they're obviously going to try similar tactics now.
Well, you remember what Biden said, if you don't vote for him, you ain't black.
Yeah.
And that's the way he said it, too.
That's right. Idiot. So among likely Democratic primary voters in New Hampshire, 22% said they would support Ocasio-Cortez, and that was 1 or 2 points higher than Buttigieg, who was also in the field. Newsom's support fell by 7 points, and Harris dropped 5 points.
Why do you think Newsom fell? I'm just curious.
Because AOC is rising.
That's the reason, not because he's doing anything?
No, it's because the Democratic Party is moving to the left, as I've always said they will. Mm-hmm. And they're increasingly going to focus on Ocasio-Cortez.
Okay.
Now, nationally, McLaughlin has Ocasio-Cortez in third place in the Democratic primary, with Kathleen Harris in first place. And I think that it's very possible that AOC wins this. We need to see, because the Democrats have stacked the deck by putting South Carolina first, and AOC is not strong among blacks.
She is not. She is not strong among.
She is
blacks?
not. No.
Wow.
So it's going to be. We'll see what happens, but clearly AOC is coming on strong. Now on the Republican side, Vance remains the front runner, but Rubio has made substantial gains over the past several months. Rubio cuts into Vance's Republican lead among likely Republican primary voters. 36% said they would back Vance, but 26% chose Rubio. Rubio's support has jumped 19 points since February, while Vance has declined by 17 over the same period. Now, of course, when Donald Trump makes an endorsement, that's going to be decisive in the Republican nominating process.
Do you think he will look at these numbers and maybe move over to Rubio, or you think he's going to stay strong with his vice president?
It's possible. I don't know. But everything would depend on that.
Sure.
But it's interesting that Rubio has really made his case effectively, and Vance has not. Vance has been mired in these negotiations with Iran and the memorandum of understanding that was broken. And by becoming the point man for the president on Iran, Vance has really hurt himself.
Why?
Well, I think Trump did it to him deliberately. I think that Vance was always concerned about Iran and always was saying that the pledge not to do any new wars that he made to the MAGA base was being violated by the war in Iran. And while he never said that, he obviously was somewhat opposed to the president's policy. So Trump decided to put him on the spot and said, okay, you negotiate the memorandum of understanding. And he saddled Rubio with that. He saddled Vance with that assignment. In the meantime, Rubio comes across very cleanly, having orchestrated the Maduro takeout, possibly orchestrating the conversion of Cuba to a democracy. and orchestrating the very real move in Latin America to the right. So it's interesting, and we can't tell if that's a permanent thing with Trump or if it was just the luck of the draw.
Well, Rubio comes across in his presentation the way people want to hear. He speaks so people totally understand him immediately because he has a little bit of, he's got the edge. He's not angry, but he's got a little bit of that anger if you come at him the wrong way. You know who reminds me of Rubio? Is Brandon Gill. He's got that demeanor. He's got
guy we've been helping a congressman in Texas.
Yeah, we had lunch with him quite a few years ago, and I even said to him, "You got to run." And he was like, "Oh." But anyway, he's got that demeanor like Rubio. No, I don't know, like Rubio, but he's got that
we'll
thing.
See. Every presidential nominee who's ever won has been tall, and Rubio's not.
That's right. There's only two or three.
When Trump debated him, he said "Little Marco." And that might still be a problem.
No, it won't.
Democrats see a dip in generic polling. Republicans are gaining ground in recent generic ballot polling. Generic means we say all things being equal, who would you vote for in your district in this election, the Democrat or the Republican? The Democrats have a big advantage in that because there are so many districts that are basically 90% Democrat, whereas there are no districts that are 90% Republican. When Republicans carry a district by a lot, it's usually 2-1. But when the Democrats carry a district, the minority district, it's usually 90-10. And that piles up votes. So in the national popular vote for the House, the Democrats have always had an edge. And generally speaking, if the Democrats don't have more than a 6-point margin, it looks like the Republicans will win. And what has been happening in the Real Clear Politics polling is that the average Democratic lead dropped from 7.4% to 5.2% in the last month or two, since June 1st. And it's likely to drop further. McLaughlin, who, as I said, is always right, has a 2-point Democratic edge. And Howard Harris has them even. And both of those indications would indicate Republicans are going to carry the House. And bear in mind that there are two factors that give Republicans a huge edge in carrying the House. The first is the reapportionment in the mid-decade. Normally the reapportionment only takes place at the end of the decade when the census comes in. But Trump got the Republican governors in many states to reapportion now. The Democrats retaliated by having their governors do it now. But in the exchange, the Republicans picked up 13 seats in the reapportionment, and the Democrats picked up only 5. So that's a built-in 8-point edge for the Republicans. And then, in addition, the Supreme Court decision in Louisiana versus Calais that says that you cannot have majority-minority districts. You can't reapportion based on race. You can based on party, but not race. That's resulted in 6 or 7 black congressmen being redistricted in the South, which that 7 combined with the 8 from reapportionment means that before you look at the results, the Republicans have a 15-point advantage in the House, and they start with a 3-seat margin, so it's almost a 20-seat edge. So when you combine that with the polling numbers, with Trump's high job approval, with the good economy, I think the Republicans are going to carry the House. And I think they're going to carry the Senate. I think that the Senate seats that are up, that the Democrats hope to win, are all seats in states where Trump has carried heavily. Iowa, Texas, where he carried by more than 10 points.
Oh, so what do you think?
The only 2 seats that are really in play, or 3 seats that are in play, are New Hampshire, where Collins is vulnerable, but the good new guy they've nominated, Jackson, is also a crazy leftist and very likely will lose. And then there's Michigan, where a real leftist, El Said, is running in the primary.
That's a woman, right?
No, the man. And if he wins that seat, they'll never win that seat with El Said as a candidate. It's August 4th is that primary, so we don't know yet who's going to be that nominee. And then you have Georgia, where Mike Collins is probably going to defeat John Ossoff, who was elected in the stacked and fixed 2020 election. So I think that we're certainly going to carry the Senate, and I think we're going to carry the House. I think it's a very positive situation.
That's a beautiful thing.
When we come back, we'll talk about the economy under Trump and how great it's been.
This is the Dick Morris Show on 77 WABC. It's Sunday, and you know what that means. Here's Dick Morris on 77 WABC.
Clowns to the left of me, jokers to the right. Here I am, stuck in the middle with you.
Welcome back to the Dick Morris and Doug Dipierro Show. We're going to do something now that I will be doing for each of the next 9 shows. That's 2 months of my shows every Sunday. And there was a memo, actually, a chapter written by a guy named Chuck Brooks, Brooks, who was a friend of mine who was one of the great gurus about the internet, artificial intelligence, and the future. And he's written a memo predicting what what the world is going to be like in 2050. And it's very long, and I've broken it up into 9 segments. And we'll read 1 segment each week. So here's Doug with the Chuck Brooks predictions of what's likely in 2050.
This is so interesting and so true. It's coming true. It is becoming more and more clear that technology is evolving into something more intelligent, connected, autonomous, and adaptable. Over the next 25 years, the rate of change will probably surpass anything that has happened to humanity since the Industrial Revolution. The results of this technological advancement will be Malthusian by 2050.
Now, Malthus was a philosopher.
Right.
What year do you have a year from? It's 1600, I think.
Yes.
Who said that starvation was inevitable and the collapse of the human species would have to happen because the birth rate would always outstrip the food supply. And it turned out to be totally wrong, but Malthus became really important.
Right.
So when he says it will become Malthusian, he means that in the positive sense.
Oh, good. Well,
should.
First of all, I don't think 2050 is the right. This guy's brilliant. That's talking about this, but I think it's a lot quicker this is going to happen. So anyway, the upcoming decades will be characterized by convergence in contrast to earlier periods that were shaped by a single dominant technology, such as steam power, electricity, automobile, or the internet. Artificial intelligence will be the driving force behind advancements in almost every field of science and industry. Solutions to previous unsolvable optimization, chemistry, and material problems will be made possible by quantum computing. Billions of intelligent devices at the edge will have brain-like efficiency thanks to neuromorphic. Now, neuromorphic is brain-inspired engineering, spiking neural networks and artificial neurons. That's neuromorphic computing. Precision medicine and programmable biology will be made possible by biotechnology's growing transformation into an information science. Advanced materials will revolutionize infrastructure, manufacturing, and energy. While nanotechnology, which is basically the same thing, right, will enable us to engineer matter at atomic scale.
Nanotechnology means things that you can do to an atom or particle that is too small for you to see.
Right. Space technology will also extend humanity's economic reach beyond Earth. When considered collectively, these advancements constitute a new operating system for civilization rather than merely a collection of technological trends. This viewpoint is significantly consistent with futurist Ray Kurzweil's law of accelerating returns, which maintains that technological advancements build upon themselves, which each generation of innovation serving as a basic for several more. Kurzweil predicted the pocket computer, that the computer would beat the chess champ. Remember that back when? And it happened in 2000. So this guy's pretty good predictor. Discoveries in one area will spur discoveries in others, resulting in a multiplier effect that propels exponential advancement. We are about to enter what I refer to as the acceleration era. Excuse me, a time when multiple technological revolutions occur at the same time. Artificial intelligence automates and speeds up scientific discoveries, and intelligent systems assist in creating the next generation of an intelligence. By the way, this is happening already, not full blown, but we see this happening. The convergence of these innovations will change how we live, work, learn, heal, govern, and explore the universe. And he says by 2050, bull. This is happening now. This is in 6 months to 2 years. This is happening. The only thing that we have to do is we got to slow it down. That's the difficult part. You know, I don't know how that's going to get done. Musk. We need to have Musk on the show. The challenges are just as significant as the opportunity. As the lines between the digital and physical worlds continue to blur, cybersecurity, privacy, ethics, and governance will become even more crucial. I like to see how it's going to happen. The acceleration era may be characterized by this acceleration of discovery. The technologies we develop will progressively aid in the development of the next generation of technologies, extending human knowledge and creating opportunities that are currently only found in science fiction.
In other words, when we develop artificial intelligence will enable us to make new gains. And then those new gains will enable us to make more gains.
Right.
He calls that the acceleration era.
And he says the acceleration of scientific, what you just said, the acceleration of scientific discovery itself may be the most significant effect of the advanced artificial intelligence rather than automation. AI is already helping scientists find new proteins, speed up drug development, create cutting-edge materials, enhance semiconductor production. This is what I'm worried about. And analyze astronomical data. By 2050, and I don't think that's the real date, I think it's a lot sooner, autonomous research labs might run non-stop, incorporating robotics, artificial intelligence, quantum computing, and sophisticated sensing technologies into self-improving scientific ecosystems. So here's what I believe. I believe we have to make sure we don't give them enough individuality where these computers build themselves. This no different than
he'll address that later in the book. But
right.
I think the key thing to bear in mind here is that these changes are coming dramatically, very
exponentially.
Quickly. Exponentially. And the next 20 years or 30 years, even the next few years, will absolutely be very different because of artificial intelligence.
You know what?
I'm sorry. Yes. Now that's the first chapter, and we're going to read 8 of the chapters in the remaining 8 weeks of the show. Please call in and tell me if you like this or not. Yeah. But it'll be a big part of our show, and it's information you're not getting anyplace else.
You know, Dick, my friend I've been telling you about, Charles, I can't get into what this is about, and we can't really get. He's been calling me to try to get in touch with either Musk or that he's on this, and he's worried about these AI things drifting. They call it a drift. When you ask it about something, what is Dick Morris's show like? It goes into, well, it's like this, and that. But to be better, it could do this and do that, and then it goes on and on and on. And he's trying to figure out how to stop it from learning itself, and I don't see anybody doing that.
Okay.
I can't see that happening.
Back to Earth, back to today.
What topic are we at?
We're doing 3. The economy is doing great under Trump. U.S. filings for unemployment aid fell to 187,000 last week, the fewest since 1969. Fewer new unemployment people since 1969. American applications for jobless benefits tumbled to the lowest level in more than 5 decades last week, as layoffs remain historically low despite global economic uncertainty. The number of Americans applying for unemployment benefits in the week ending July 18th declined by 22,000 to 187,000, the Labor Department reported. That's the fewest number of weekly applications since the week ending September 6, 1969. It's well below the 215 new applications forecast by the economists.
That's pretty good.
This is very important. Real household income, adjusted for inflation, has risen $2,990, $3,000 a year, since Trump came back in 2024. And in his first term, it rose $6,800. So real household personal income, that is household personal income, everybody in the household, real, adjusted for inflation, has risen almost $10,000 under Trump.
Wow.
Let me repeat that. Real household personal income has risen almost $10,000 under Trump.
Wow.
You got
in
that?
Such a short time.
Real household personal income has risen almost $10,000 under Trump. Wow. Under Biden, it went up $523. So this is incredible.
Oh, man.
The middle class isn't disappearing. It's just getting richer. The median household income, the amount we make in the average household, now stands at $87,000 a year, an estimate that has less than a 1% margin of error. In most countries, an income of $87,000 would be fabulously rich. After inflation, incomes took a hit during COVID and were stagnant under Biden. But in Trump, they've risen again. Real median income since 1984 has risen 41%. There are many problems in America, but no, our parents didn't have it better than we do. Nuclear energy. On Friday, President Donald Trump delivered remarks about America's nuclear energy. He announced that in the past year, the U.S. has completed 4 additional nuclear reactors that have reached criticality. Now, they used to say that it took 10 years to build a nuclear reactor, and that we couldn't possibly develop as a short-term, near-term nuclear power as an alternative to coal, oil, and everything else. But Trump has done it in the most amazing achievements I've seen in a year, in a few years since Trump's been back in office, 2 years. He has gotten 4 new nuclear reactors to approach criticality, which means that they'll be online providing electricity to our people. Now,
Dick, let me ask you a question. Are these those small ones?
No. These are great,
large?
big, regular,
Wow.
full,
yeah.
Just like the Indian Point. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Wow.
The U.S. stopped building nuclear power in the 1970s because of Jane Fonda and the China syndrome and all of that nonsense.
Yeah.
And but France and Germany continued building nuclear power, and France is now almost entirely provides its electricity through nuclear power. It doesn't need oil or gas or anything or coal. It's all nuclear.
But no air conditioning.
Well, I'll get to that later in the show. And it's amazing that Trump has done this. Nuclear power historically accounts for only about 18% of our power. Now it's going to go up into the 20s, 30s, and maybe more of it. And the nuclear energy is clean. Nobody died in 3 Mile Island. Nobody died in any of the nuclear accidents. Right. And I think we're doing great.
What about Chernobyl? Did anyone die in that?
I don't know, but very
I don't
few
remember.
died in that.
Yeah, right.
I have an interesting story. My daughter, Gabrielle Faflin, married Nick Petrunin, whose father was put in charge of Chernobyl after it melted down. He's Russian. He was a nuclear scientist in Russia. And he was living in the Ural Mountains and the city that the communists set aside for their nuclear scientists. But when Chernobyl fell apart, they moved him near Chernobyl, which is nearer the western border. And after 3 years of making sure that Chernobyl didn't kill anybody and doing a great job there, the Kremlin told him, "You're entitled to a vacation. We'll let you go any place you want." And he said, in the Soviet bloc, he said, "I'd like to go to Prague." So they said, "Okay, that's fine." They sent him on a vacation to Prague with a bunch of other nuclear scientists. The bus he was on was parked at a light in front of the American embassy. It was Thanksgiving in 1991. And the guy's name, Yuri Petrunin, the scientist, my daughter's father-in-law, saw that the American embassy was open on Thanksgiving. And he jumped off the bus and ran into the embassy. The KGB, which was on the bus, followed him with guns drawn, but he made it into the embassy without getting hurt. And then the Americans refused to permit the KGB in and gave him asylum. And he was flown to the United States, where he had Nick, who's my son-in-law, who married my daughter. He now makes telescopes in Denver and Gabrielle, my daughter, grinds the lenses. She's learned how to do that.
Great story.
Isn't that a great story?
It's a great story.
All we needed was a new president, and there are manufacturing wins seen in every state. Every state. The White House released a statement showing big numbers that the working family tax cuts passed in the 25 Big Beautiful Bill have caused huge manufacturing wins in 50 states. 1 year after Trump signed the working families tax credits into law, a new report confirms the legislation has delivered powerful manufacturing resurgence in every one of the 50 states. The landmark law has sustained nearly 6 million American jobs, preserved more than $1 trillion in economic output, and safeguarded $540 billion in wages.
Wait, stop. $1 trillion.
Yep, in economic outputs. Among the strongest one-year impacts on U.S. manufacturing in modern history. For each state, when you look at them, there's a portion of that. All 50 states, blue as well as red. So, combine what I've said here. Trump, the unemployment filings are the lowest they've ever been since 1969. Personal income has risen $10,000, adjusted for inflation, $10,000 household income since Trump took office. And the household income now stands at $87,000, $10,000 more than it did when Trump took office. And the nuclear energy industry is prospering. Manufacturing is gaining in every single state. And we have $1 trillion more in economic output.
That's amazing.
And 6 million American jobs and $540 billion in wages. Unbelievable.
And Britain is suffering from their economic growth.
So when we come back, we'll talk a bit more about the economy, and we'll talk about a bunch of other economic topics.
This is the Dick Morris Show on 77 WABC. It's Sunday, and you know what that means. Here's Dick Morris on 77 WABC.
Clowns to the left of me, jokers to the right. Here I am, stuck in the middle with you.
Welcome back to the Dick Morris and Doug Dipierro Show. Did you hear that information?
Dave Marcus.
Yeah, did you hear that information? Dave Marcus, Roy Cohn's cousin.
Do you know him?
No, I do not. I'd like to meet him.
Yeah,
I am
you're Roy's
I am
cousin.
Roy Cohn's cousin.
Yeah.
My father, Eugene Morris, was Roy Cohn's mentor and uncle. And,
Let me ask you,
they
talk
lived
about
together for 10 years.
when your father used to say, "Well, I'm Roy
Yeah,
Cohen's
my father
uncle."
used to say, when I was a kid, I was called Al Cohen's uncle, Roy's father, because he was prominent in politics. As an adult, I was called Roy Cohen's cousin, and now I'm called Dick Morris's father.
That's so great.
And Trump knows that I'm Roy Cohen's cousin.
Yeah.
The exact relationship is that Roy Cohen's father was my uncle. And he says, your dad would be so proud of you. And I said, I'm Roy's cousin. He said, Roy was a pisser. And
He was a tough dude.
And it's funny. But the relationship with Roy and the relationship my father had with Trump is a very important part of my relationship with Trump.
Sure.
He's always saying your dad would be so proud of you, and I so enjoy that. My
He
dad
loves you,
was Donald's lawyer in the 1970s and the 80s, and represented him as he moved into Manhattan real estate.
You know, every time I see the president, I haven't seen him in a while, but a year ago, I've seen it all the time. Every single time, whether it's the beginning or the end of our conversation, you make sure you take care of Dick Morris. You hear me? I don't worry about it. I got it.
Now,
he always says that to me.
Going across the ocean, we talked about how Trump's economy is booming, but Britain is not. Britain has an economic growth rate under 1% a year. None of that's likely to improve under Andy Burnham, the new Labour Party Prime Minister who replaced Keir Starmer on Monday. The Prime Minister in 10 years who seemingly wants to try everything except the free market. Worse, his speech to Labour Party members last week attacked Margaret Thatcher's freedom reforms and quoted and said it was a series of wrong turns. Berman promised the most significant change in politics for 40 years, including a possible rent freeze, raising the top income tax rate in Britain to 50%. It's 40% in the U.S. So we have more economic stagnation. It'll continue to get worse for a year or two, and then the next election, Nigel Farage, my client, will take over running the Reform Party, and he'll be the new prime minister.
You think he'll win?
Yes, I do.
Why? Tell me why.
Well, he's leading in the polls.
Mm-hmm.
People hate the Conservative Party and the Labour Party. And now this idiot, Burnham, is about to become the prime minister, and he's going to run Britain even further into the ground.
Wow. In 10 years, what, nine prime ministers, something like that?
Yes,
8 or 9?
like that.
Oh, my God.
President Donald Trump on Monday imposed 50% tariffs on most Canadian goods, declaring that Canada had unfairly discriminated against American autos, alcohol, and dairy products. We talk about being ripped off by China and before that by Japan, but the largest trade deficit the U.S. has with any country is with Canada. Rich people and companies are pouring out of Democratic-run blue states at levels never seen before. If this trend continues, these states will become ghettos of the future. No people, no money, no hope. Make America great again, President Donald Trump. That's a quote from Trump. He said that if this continues, these states, these blue states, will become, quote, ghettos of the future. This is Trump. No people, no money, no hope. Make America great again.
Wow.
So 11, Doug?
You know what, Dick? Why don't we go to On the Rocks? What do you think?
Okay, good.
Okay, let's go to
Hi,
On the
Roxana.
Rocks. Hi, Roxana.
Hi. Can you hear me?
Yes,
we can.
Hi, Dick. Hi, Doug.
Hi, Rock.
Hello.
Interesting about the technology because its rapid progression makes American history on this day so much more relevant, and how an idea never rests but soars. In 1775, the United States Post Office, today under the leadership of Benjamin Franklin, became one of the first great institutions. That stitched together 13 colonies into one people, proving that communication is the foundation of a strong nation. 2 centuries later, in 1947, President Truman signed the National Security Act, creating the CIA and reorganizing America's defense. Then on this day, As well, in 1990, President George H.W. Bush signed the Americans with Disabilities Act, affirming that the U.S.'s strength is also measured by ensuring citizens are treated with dignity and equal opportunities. Also of great note today marks the Potsdam Conference, held in Germany.
Potsdam
Conference, which was held in Germany, and it brought together President Truman, Winston Churchill, which ended up being Clement Attlee, Joseph Stalin, China's Chiang Kai-shek. The mission was to how rebuild Nazi Germany's defeat and how to end the war in Japan. During the conference, the Allies issued only one demand: unconditional surrender or face prompt and utter destruction. Japan ignored the ultimatum, and within days, the U.S. dropped atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, I think you pronounced it, bringing World War II to an end. Japan surrendered to the Allies 6 days after the bombing. It was the beginning of the nuclear age, the immense power yet devastating consequences of atomic weapons. And here we are, in a world that is trying diplomacy, military strategies to prevent nuclear war. Have we learned nothing? Or can we, at the minimum, agree it's of the utmost importance to support President Trump as he continues trying to make the world safer by preventing Iran, whose internal instability and extreme factions a threat to all? These milestones remind us that America has always been best when striving to unite. But for you, Dick, I have a little bit of sports, baseball history on this day, July 26th.
Oh, Dick likes baseball?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
1933, Joe DiMaggio ended his 61-game hitting streak. 1948, Babe Ruth makes his final public appearance. 1952, Mickey Mantle hits his first grand slam for the New York Yankees. Then 5 years later, the same day, 1957, hits his career home run number 200.
Okay, that's great. Let me just comment.
One last thought. Speaking of New York today, think how many years ago? 1778, it became the 11th state to ratify the U.S. Constitution. And so here we are.
Thank you, Ralph. That was great. Let me just make some comments here. At the Potsdam Conference, I think that the stuff you talked about Japan's surrender was at the Yalta Conference before the Potsdam Conference. The Potsdam Conference was held 2 years or 3 years after the end of the war. And in the middle of the Potsdam Conference, there was an election in Britain, and Winston Churchill was at the conference. I'm sorry, Potsdam was in 1945, and the goal, a big part of Potsdam was to get Russia to declare war on Japan. You're right.
Right.
But at the Potsdam Conference, for the first 2 or 3 days, Winston Churchill represented Britain. Then the results of the election in Britain became public, and Churchill lost. And Clement Attlee, who was the leader of the opposition, took over as prime minister and entered the conference and completed the last few days of the conference with Churchill having to go home. Incredible.
Right, that's true.
Story. Good. So thank you,
The other
Rock.
thing that's interesting, may I add, Dick, that I didn't put in that segment, was that even though the atomic bomb was, brought forth, evidently Russia had knowledge of it for 3 years prior.
Yeah, well,
kind of an interesting fact.
Russia had spies, and that's how Russia developed its own bomb 4 years later. Thank you, Rock. Okay,
Thank
we
you.
got to take a break now, but when we come back, we'll talk about the Trump savings accounts for children and the huge, impressive thing that's done, item 11.
This is the Dick Morris Show on 77 WABC. It's Sunday, and you know what that means. Here's Dick Morris on 77 WABC.
Clouds to the left of me, jokers to the right. Here I am, stuck in the middle with you.
Hi, welcome back to the Dick Morris and Doug Dipierro show. We talked about the great gains in the economy under Trump, but one of the huge things is the child savings account.
Yes,
Doug, talk about that.
We've been talking about this for a little bit. President Trump said Wednesday during a rally in Georgia that the new Trump account program, a centerpiece of his signature big, gigantic, beautiful other thing bill, has already enrolled more than 7 million children. Wow. And attracted nearly $1.5 billion in deposits under 3 weeks. Under 3 weeks, $1.5 billion. Mr. Trump and multiple administration officials all touted the Trump accounts, a tax-free investment savings account for every American child under the age of 18. I'm seeing it, and again, over 7 million, and it really just started, Trump said, he told the crowd, calling the program the most consequential provision of the big, beautiful bill. It's hot as a pistol. I love his talk. Government projections show that a child whose family maxes out contributions could see the account grow to nearly $300,000 by the age of 18, and funds may be used for college, starting a business, or buying a home. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent declared the Trump account initiative to be the most successful program launch in government history. Wow, that's pretty unbelievable. Wow.
Now,
$300,000 by the age of 18.
It's amazing. Now, in her segment, Roxanne talked about the Americans with Disabilities Act.
Right.
But it's been abused, and Joe will talk about that now.
Right. The number of adults who are not in the labor force, this is NILF, not in the labor force, surged to an all-time high in June to 105.8 million. According to the figures from the Federal Reserve Bank in St. Louis, that is, they gave you that figure. The record comes after a massive surge of 832,000 workers dropping out of the labor force in June alone. The overall number of the NILFs is higher than the height of the Great Recession or the COVID pandemic. The definition is broad. It covers all Americans age 16 and over who aren't currently working, including retirees and students, so we got to keep that in mind. Leading labor economist Nicholas Eberstadt told the Post that drilling down into the data reveals a startling pattern of dropouts, particularly among men. We've got a big problem with the flight from work of prime-aged men. And, yeah, of course, because you keep giving them stuff for nothing, they don't have to work. And what's being carrying the overall prime-age labor force participation has been the strong involvement of women, not men, who holds the that's Eberstadt, who holds
some 5.3 million workers, 5% of the not in the labor force, have dropping out because they're discouraged and are not even bothering to look for work.
Well, it seems like it's a flip with masculinity, women and men. It seems like it's flipping.
Well,
women are buying dinner for men now. I mean, it's ridiculous. Never
in
heard
addition,
such.
up to 22% of Americans not in the labor force population are on long-term illness, disability, or other benefits. 23.3 million Americans.
By far, the largest segment of the NILF population is retirees, who make up of the 50% of the total Americans not working. That's not surprising given the large cohort of baby boomers who are in their golden years. Some 45% of the NILFs are retirees who took standard retirement at the age of 65 or later. About 3 to 5% retire early.
Yeah, but the thing we can change about that is the disabilities. Ever since the Obama administration, disability has soared in the United States. We're becoming a nation of cripples, and everybody is applying for disability and dropping out the labor force as a result of that. And this is outrageous and very difficult especially given the very low unemployment rate. Nobody's unemployed. Businesses need workers, and this is going to be a serious problem.
Well, with Obama and Biden, why do you got to work if you're giving you money? All right, when we get back.
It's Sunday, and you know what that means. Here's Dick Morris on 77 WABC.
Clowns to the left of me, jokers to the right. Here I am, stuck in the middle with you.
Hi, welcome back to the Dick Morris and Doug Dipierro show. We've had a series of guests on who are running for office this year with chances to defeat Democratic incumbents. One of the incumbents who most deserves defeating is Rosa DeLauro, and you've probably seen her on TV. She's this old-looking hag who has been in Congress for I don't know how many years.
1,000.
Yeah.
And she got the purple hair.
Yep. And Doug, please introduce our guest.
Chris Lancia running against her. Is this Fairfield, Chris? Fairfield County?
No, this is actually New Haven. Yeah, it's New Haven County. First, I want to say thank you for the opportunity. It's an honor to be on your show, Dick.
Good.
You're a legend in the field.
How long has Rosa DeLauro been in Congress?
91, I think.
She got elected in 1991. She'll be 83 years. She's 83 years old, Dick.
Yeah.
She'll be 84 by the time the election comes.
And she's been in office since 91, so that's 35 years.
Wow.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
If there's anybody who deserves defeating, she's one. Hi, Chris. Tell us about yourself.
Yeah, my name's Chris Lancia. I was born in Bridgeport, Connecticut. I live in Milford, Connecticut now. I served in the Coast Guard for a couple of years, and I had to leave for some tumors taken out and injuries. Then I'm in a cable business that I went to, and then I decided to try some federal law enforcement for a couple of years. I always wanted to go to Flexi, so I got in. I have a degree and a bachelor's degree in Homeland Security. I'm a father of two amazing kids, my son Christopher and my daughter Angela. And right now, running a cable company, we build fiber networks around the country. We do underground and stuff like that. So we build a lot of systems, your fiber networks and stuff like that. We're starting to get into some other.
Well, tell us about your campaign.
Yeah, what are you going to do that you want to beat her? What do you want to tell the people that you're going to change?
We need to do 5 to 6 different things. First thing is we need economic growth and opportunity. We need to start supporting our small businesses. We need to work with the SBA and how to not just give me a loan, but also let us get back to you to get a better loan at a better rate to expand your business. I know that being a small business person that we need to buy equipment to expand, and we could, instead of going to other banks, we're already with you. We paid our loan just like the VA home loan. Let us get back to work with you. I would love to work with the SBA. We need a lot of education reform. Connecticut has a very bad education system. We have some influential areas that are good, but I want the money to come back to the state because every state is different and every state is unique. So it should be here. But the problem
Connecticut's governor has refuses to take advantage of the tax credit Trump passed to permit students to go to charter schools.
Our waitresses still have to pay taxes on tips. We still have to pay taxes on overtime in the state of Connecticut. We have to worry about health care. We have to take care of our older people and our veterans. We really have to do that. We have to get rid of this Medicaid and care fraud. It's all over. It's running rampant. We have a place called Villa Vista in New Haven, Connecticut. They have a liquor store when you pull in, and everybody's on some kind of Medicaid or Social Security. And they're in their 30s. So we need to, I heard you say something a little bit about on your show, but we need to get them a physical and make sure that they're capable of working and give them some type of work. Because you don't get out of a recession unless you produce in the private sector. We are the state of Connecticut is the biggest employer in the state. That doesn't make sense. You're never going to get out. We have the highest employment rate at 4.9%, and that can be brought down. We just have to work together, and we have to go. And I'm huge on public safety. Being in the Coast Guard and doing some other stuff, and we have no safe neighborhoods. we in Connecticut especially, we have this police accountability bill. It literally lets the criminals go free. We need to get rid of sanctuary cities, and we need to prosecute governors and mayors and judges that let somebody out that knows they have 34 felons.
Damn right.
Violent criminals.
Absolutely.
You know that. You're a murderer in my eyes. And you let that person go. So there has to be, if the state government can't do it, then we need to come in the federal. And I do believe in the federal government being a bigger brother, being there when we need us, not being everybody's business. But if you're not going to take care of the citizens that are paying taxes and protect them, and your kids can't walk down the street at night, then I think that the federal government has to step in. And
how can people contribute to your campaign?
Yeah, do you have a website?
Yes, definitely. That's a big thing we need up here. LANCIAFOR, Congress2026.org.
Say it again.
That's Lancia, LANCIA for Congress, FOR, Congress2026.org.
Good. Well, thank you, Chris. Appreciate having you on. It's great.
I appreciate you guys having me. It was an honor. Thank you so much,
We'll have you back
guys.
after you win.
Thank you, Chris. Appreciate it so much.
Thanks, guys. Thanks,
Lancia for Congress.org.
Now,
is FOR.
Everybody's been talking about the fact that the U.S. hasn't bombed Iran for the last few days after 13 days of bombing. But the key thing is that Trump has laid out specific consequences that will happen to Iran for each Iranian attack.
President Trump said Wednesday that Iran's infrastructure will pay the price every time Iran attacks a ship in the Strait. From this point forward, any time the Islamic Republic of Iran shoots at a ship in the Strait, whether it be a missile, rocket, drone, or a pebble, or any other device or weapon, the United States will bomb and destroy one bridge or power plant, including those located next to or in the capital city of Tehran.
Yeah, now this is very significant because it means we're not just bombing military bases, we're not just bombing the Revolutionary Guard bases. We're actually going to destroy their power grid. That means a blackout. That means no electricity in Iran. And if the more they attack American ships, the more we're going to do it.
That's it.
This tit for tat, eye for an eye by Trump is a dramatic and important change, an escalation in the war, and damned important.
That's all this culture knows anyway.
Now,
they don't understand any. Let me ask you a question, Dick. I've asked this a couple times. Do you think, and I don't think this could happen, that the people will rise up against this government?
Well,
I mean, I don't see that happening, but do you think that could happen?
They did, and 40,000 were killed.
Right.
But I think that the fact that there's no electricity, no power,
they're going to have
soon
to.
They'll have to. Soon it'll be entirely a dark country.
Yeah, for survival for themselves.
Glenn Beck has talked about the alternatives to the Straits of Hormuz. He's saying that the long-term solution here is not just to free the Straits of Hormuz, but to replace them.
Mm-hmm.
And he says there's an east-west line, 1.5 million barrels a day in service in a pipeline by early 27. Saudi Arabia is weighing a 2 billion barrel expansion.
2 million.
2 million barrel expansion to the Red Sea. Iran is back at the table on a Mediterranean corridor.
Iraq is back at the table on a Mediterranean corridor through Turkey. He also cited projections from Goldman Sachs. Goldman Sachs counts 7 different projects now, Beck said, and puts Gulf pipeline capacity over 14 million barrels a day by 28, according to Beck. Those projects would allow much of the region's oil exports to bypass areas vulnerable to the Iranian interference.
So not only are we going to make Iran dark, we're going to eliminate the Straits of Hormuz as a leverage point. And that's absolutely crucial. I'm glad Glenn Beck gave us that perspective.
You know, Dick, I'm kind of thinking about this right now that, number one, we're going to blow the crap out of these people. Unfortunately, there's going to be some regular people out there going to feel it. But they're not going to have any economy with all this going on. They're not going to have any money coming in. What would they do?
That's right.
How would they survive? First of all, the government won't. But they're going to have tourism or something, right? How would they survive?
They're not going to have anything.
Yeah.
Now, Trump is adopting a new approach to the SAVE Act. That's the act that he wants to pass that requires everyone to have a photo ID to register or to vote. So the Senate has failed to pass it after the House has passed it 4 times. So what the House did is Mike Johnson set up a Reconciliation Act, the third of the administration, that includes money for the defense budget, other purposes, and the SAVE Act. And because it's done through reconciliation, it cannot be filibustered. And Johnson included his amendment under the defense appropriation, which will make it hard for any Senate Republican to vote no, so it'll likely pass and become law. The $95 billion framework for a third budget reconciliation package that would boost funding for the Pentagon, provide agriculture aid, and provide money to encourage states to adopt voting restrictions. So we wish him luck, but this is a new try.
Let me ask you this. You said that the fact that the amendment to defense appropriation will make it hard for the Senate Republican to vote no. Oh, the Senate Republican. Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, and there were 3 or 4 Republican senators who could vote no. Susan Collins has voted yes, but Murkowski from Alaska, Tillis from North Carolina, and probably McConnell from Kentucky have voted no. Now, McConnell's in the hospital and probably isn't going to vote. So we may have enough votes now to pass it with a simple majority, and that looks like it may happen. We may have a requirement of photo IDs in the election coming up in 2026. Thank God.
Okay.
So more about Mancami, Doug.
Oh, my God. Moron Mancami. Nightmare. Mike Waltz, U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations, said on Saturday that New York City nightmare Mandami threat to have Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu arrested during the UN General Assembly is pure political theater. The nightmare here, Mandami, here's why your threat to arrest Netanyahu in New York City during the UN Assembly is not going to happen. The United States is not party to the Rome Statute that underlies the International Criminal Court. The UN headquarters agreement grants diplomatic protections to visiting heads of government. Head of state immunity applies, and federal authority trumps any local mayor wishes.
Yep.
That's it, you
take care of
jerk
that.
Off. Unbelievable.
Okay.
Good for him.
Meantime, there's a 71% increase in New York welfare cash spending.
Wow. 865,000 New Yorkers have collected $2.6 billion in welfare payments in 2025. Wait, $2.6 billion in welfare payments in 2025. Shattered previous records. Granted, this was from before Nightmare Mandami walked into Gracie Mansion, but his municipal government of commies will only speed boost this disaster. The $2.6 billion figure represents a 71% increase from 2022's $1.5 billion.
So that means in 2 years, welfare spending in New York City has gone up 71%. And this during a period of prosperity. This during a period of record low unemployment. Fewer and fewer people flying for unemployment insurance, but 71% applying for welfare.
When coupled with payments from the supplement nutrition and the SNAP program.
That's food stamps.
Yeah. The city paid out more than $7 billion in welfare to residents in 2024, according to the Fox News data. Wow.
And you wonder why Mandami won. Well, a big part of it is that we're paying people to do nothing, and they're voting for Mandami.
Wow, they just want free stuff. Eventually it's going to run out, like what's the name said. Just when you think you couldn't possibly be any dumber.
We have to approach a break now, Doug, so let's talk about that when we come back.
Kathy Jokel.
Thank you.
This is 77 WABC, and this is the Dick Morris Show. It's Sunday, and you know what that means. Here's Dick Morris on 77 WABC.
Clowns to the left of me, jokers to the right. Here I am, stuck in the middle with you.
Welcome back to the Dick Morris and Doug Dipierro show.
How you doing, Dick
Good.
Morris?
You know, Doug has always focused on non-citizen voting in the U.S. and trying to discourage it. So tell us about it, Doug.
Well, this is the 17 we're doing, right? The Kathy
Yeah.
Hochul, right? New York, this is unbelievable.
Oh, I'm sorry. Pardon me. Yes.
Yeah, we'll get to that other one in a minute. This is about Kathy Hochul. Oh, by the way, Rod behind in the booth, he's laughing. He goes, "You're funny with all these names." I call him Lightning Rod. Anyway, New York Governor Hochul has killed data center construction in the Empire State. Instead, she wants to pave the state over with sprawling solar farms. This is ridiculous. But data centers require about a tenth as large a concrete footprint on land than do solar farms, which could industrialize up to 11,000 acres in the USDA certified prime farmland, according to the analysis by Solar Energy Industries. But that would be the land area equivalent to Paris or France. But forget all of that. She doesn't want to have the data centers constructed. That's the future. What is wrong with her, Hochul?
And said solar energy when we have nuclear power and we have the world's greatest supply of coal.
Yeah.
And these solar plants, panels are all made in China.
And they fail, and you got to throw them away. You can't
And also it's sometimes a cloudy day.
That's it. This just doesn't work. What's this matter with this moron? And I like her too. I met her a couple times. I've talked to her, but I gotta call her a moron. I hate that I'm calling her a moron, but she's a moron. Oh, non-citizen voting. Now I'm gonna say, you talk about it, Dick. I had an idea. We placed whatever under the Trump election of if you vote, if you're illegal and you vote, you're going to get arrested, you're going to get tagged, you're going to get tracked.
And the Democrats said, no, that's crazy. No foreigners vote in American elections. It's a myth that's totally untrue.
So here it is. The Department of Homeland Security is releasing more data behind President Trump's claims of voter rolls littered with non-citizens, saying its own review found more than 190,000 suspect names in California and 35,000 in New Jersey, DHS said, and it also identified nearly 16,000 names in Nevada and almost 15,000 in Pennsylvania. That is review flagged. That is review flagged as possible non-citizens. Secretary Mark Wayne Mullen, I like that guy, said letters to the secretaries of state in each of them, giving them a 2-week deadline to work with him on plans to cleanse their list. Some 25 other states have worked with the DHS, running their own voter list through a department system for verifying citizenship and legal status. DHS says those 25 states have identified 28,000 potential non-citizens on their rolls, as well as more than 400,000 names of dead people.
And that's how they cheat. They take dead people, and without photo IDs, they say, oh, this is Gene Morris who's voting.
Yeah.
He died 10 years ago, but that's okay. He's going to vote.
There should be prison for that. I got to tell you. Listen, let's take a call from Sandra. She wants to talk about elections.
Hi, Sandra.
Hi, Sandra.
Hello. So, Jack Ciattarelli, he's gone, but he's not forgotten. First of all, let me tell you, he's happily remarried. He's traveling all around the world. But
Sandra, shut your radio in the background, Sandra.
Oh, I'm in the supermarket. All right.
Okay.
Let me step away. Hold on. I'll go in another room. Okay. So, all right. Is that better?
Yes, okay. Much better.
So Jack Ciattarelli, he's living his life. He gave us his all twice, but he had to move on. But we're stuck with Mickey Sherrill, and we just learned that voting in New Jersey, she even admitted that we had some serious violations going on.
She admitted that 6,600 non-citizens are voting in New Jersey. That's the Democratic governor admitting that.
Wow.
And the vendor had to resign because he allowed it. So So I want to tell you something. Yesterday on the Rob Astorino show, so many people called in saying, why doesn't Jack Ciattarelli, fight this and maybe challenge this? And I, too, even asked Jack, hey, Jack, why don't you look into this? But like I said, I think he's moved on. And Rob Astorino said, I don't know if it's going to really help in the long run. What do you think?
Yeah.
Okay,
that's a great
Sandra.
idea. Thank you, Sandra. They could try, but that's not going to ever go anywhere.
China stole voter registration from 220 million American citizens.
Whoa. Say that again?
China stole 220 million citizens' voter registration forms.
Wow.
The White House released to the public dozens of classified documents, including data showing that 278,000 citizens who registered to vote in federal elections are not citizens.
Wow.
The data loss represents an unprecedented security nightmare. Intelligence even shows that the People's Republic of China acquired 220 million U.S. voter files, and they assigned a data exploration unit to specify specifically to this new project. A document the White House released titled 200 million voting records compromised says a 45 gigabyte database containing 204 million U.S. voting records from 2016 that the Chinese have co-opted. They also have manufactured, printed over 20,000 U.S. driver's licenses, phony, and they're being distributed probably to Chinese spies in the United States.
Wow. And then when the feds go after these people, they're going to cry racism, profiling. They're going to go through that whole thing the Dems will do.
Now, Doug, talk about the story Sandra just spoke about.
Right, the non-citizens in Jersey. The White House is having an I told you so moment after Jersey's Democratic governor announced she was removing 6,600 non-citizens from her state's voter roll, following 400 of them casting ballots in the past federal elections. Democrats and their media allies have repeatedly said it is impossible for non-citizens to register to vote, let alone cast a ballot. White House spokeswoman Abigail Jackson told the Washington Examiner, time and again, they have been proven wrong. As President Donald Trump has said, there is nothing more important than the integrity of our elections, and this latest incident underscores the absolute necessity of the Save America Act. Governor Mickey Sherrill made the announcement.
Democrat.
We know that. Democrat made the announcement on Tuesday, apportioning responsibility to a serious software error in New Jersey, in New Jersey's motor vehicle system between 23 and 2024. These individuals answered no when asked on a keypad whether they were a U.S. citizen when applying for driver's licenses and identification cards. But through no fault of their own, the system registered them anyway. Oh, really? Oh, my God.
So we need to be vigilant about non-citizen voting.
I think we should bring back my
I think we should.
Thing. I think we should. The new DSS, what do we got, time?
Yeah, we do.
New DHS rule will penalize immigrants who use welfare. The Department of Homeland Security announced Thursday that it has made it easier for officers to block green card applications from immigrants who claim welfare, revoking a Biden-era rule that officials said was too lenient and had straitjacketed the department. A glitch in Pennsylvania's system, for example, prodded non-citizens to register to vote after they told the computer they were citizens. The glitch lasted more than 20 years until 2017 fix. Wow, it's a
glitch to elect
time.
Democrats.
Oh, no, it can't happen. It's impossible for that to happen.
Trump won a huge victory in the Supreme Court, over the mail-in ballot rule. It requires states to submit voter lists and ballot barcodes before the Postal Service will deliver federal ballots. Here's some good news out of the courts. The Trump administration and the U.S. Postal Service have won a key court fight over mail-in ballot oversight. For years, Republicans have been demanding answers on how mail-in ballots are handled, tracked, and counted in this country. And for years, the D.C. establishment and the failed mainstream media told us there was nothing to see here.
Yeah.
Now a court has handed the Trump administration and the Post Office Service a victory on ballot oversight. This is horrible news for Democrats who continue to obstruct and block any move by President Trump to secure our elections. The ruling says that states must submit their mail-in voters at least, and every ballot envelope must carry a uniquely serialized barcode, so each ballot is tracked outbound and returned. The appeals court found the post office made a strong showing that they were likely to succeed in the new policy.
You know what is?
There's a district court that has ruled differently, but it's going to be overruled by the circuit court ruling and ultimately probably go to the Supreme Court, which will probably affirm the right of the post office to do this.
You know what I'm thinking, Dick? Part of this, I'm sure, in this courtroom, they talked about how when they were checking ballots, they threw away the envelopes that had the signature or the person's name and date. So that probably was big in this thing right here.
Yeah, that's right.
Remember that? They were throwing away the envelopes?
That's
right.
right.
They couldn't track them.
Now, in the last couple of months, there has been more and more data coming out that global warming is not happening.
No kidding. In late April, the UN Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change admitted that Representative Concentration Pathway 8.5, or RCP 8.5, the high emissions climate model scenario that dominated climate research and policy, was implausible. This represented a tidal wave, that's funny, a tidal wave in the climate science and political. Listen, we're all going to die from something else in the world, and the earth will flourish and things will be beautiful.
There's been the school system in particular has indoctrinated kids from kindergarten on up that climate change is a serious problem and threatens the planet.
Yeah.
And it's a big part of why young people start off as liberals.
Yeah, right.
And now it turns out that the climate change models, the predictions are wrong and implausible. And you look back at some of the predictions. Al Gore said that there would be a permanent winter in Britain.
Yeah.
People have said that there would be
10 feet of water in Manhattan.
Yeah, and they didn't happen. And they're not going to happen. And it's a fraud.
And Gore said, if you don't believe this, if you don't believe the scientists, you're ignorant. I forget what he called us. And listen, they think they're so great that they're changing the world and the climate. We're nothing. We're a grain of sand. Humanity is a little tiny grain of sand. We're nothing that we could change the world like this.
While you're a grain of sand, tell them about
the
Medicaid
federal government
fraud.
pausing $1 billion in Medicaid. This grain of sand says the federal government is pausing more than $1 billion in Medicaid payments to two states. Health Secretary Robert Kennedy Jr. said this in July 21. The Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services is withholding more than $867 million from California and more than $200 million from Minnesota for that. And there you go. Now,
a new report from State Fiscal Officers Foundation uncovered.
Go on. You do it.
Uncovered 90 alleged fraud schemes in American schools involving $220 million across American schools.
God.
The report alleges that school districts have been embezzling funds, creating fake invoices, and then pocketing the money, lying about student enrollment figures to collect more aid, bid rigging, and receiving kickbacks.
That's why the Democrats always say we need more money for schools. They need more money in their pocket. We need more money for schools. Please vote for it, because they want to buy a new house. Unbelievable.
There's one of the top priorities we have is for people with terminal or painful illnesses to have access to whatever drugs or treatments they need. Getting promising wonder drugs to market more quickly would allow medical experts to have access to more data on what works and what doesn't. As Thomas Phillipson, a health economist, said, approving experimental drugs faster would attract billions more private capital investment into biomedical research. Yet the medical establishment in D.C. cruelly treats patients afflicted with disease like laboratory rats.
Oh, that's horrible.
The nonprofit Public Interest Legal Foundation has a clue as to why they won't clean up their registration rolls. They found that in Pennsylvania, the ultimate swing state, which Biden won by only 1 point in 2020, the state allowed up to 100,000 aliens to register to vote due to the same software glitch that New Jersey just discovered. The Secretary of State was forced to resign, but the state stonewalled state legislative inquiries and refused to identify the aliens on the voter rolls. A federal court denied a lawsuit for records on the grounds it lacked standing to sue. The cover-up worked. Meanwhile, the Save America bill, which would require proof for citizens for new voters, is stalled in Congress, but I think they're going to pass it.
Well, that's why it's stalled. They
Yeah.
can't rob the election. AC is not a luxury anymore, Dick. It's a necessity. A brutal heat wave in Europe caused a surge in deaths across the continent as temperatures topped 100 degrees in recent weeks. In France, authorities reported at least 2,000 additional deaths in a single week. Germany has reported more than 5,000 excess deaths this year. Wow, that's horrible. But even as mortality spikes, Europeans continue to resist the one technology that could save their life: air conditioning. Air conditioning is one of the modern civilization's most important yet unappreciative inventions. One study from the National Bureau of Economic Research estimated that the spread of air conditioning in the United States led to a roughly 75% decline in heat-related deaths during the 20th century. But policymakers in Europe have discouraged this technology through tax regulation and stubborn refusal to admit its benefits. The consequences have been tragic. Heat wave kills more than 175,000 Europeans each year, according to the World Health Organization. 80% of the continent's population does not have AC. In the United States, almost 90% does. Almost a minority among the minorities.
Unbelievable.
Of fortunate.
So while this myth of climate change is dominating, it's caused the lack of air conditioning, people to have to go through heat waves. And in nursing homes, tens of thousands of people in Europe are dying because of a lack of air conditioning, because of this theoretical concern about climate change.
Wow.
Okay, we have to break now. When we come back, we'll talk about how Trump will not permit the nuclear deal with Saudi Arabia to go through until they sign the Abraham Accords.
This is the Dick Morris Show on 77 WABC. It's Sunday, and you know what that means. Here's Dick Morris on 77 WABC.
Clowns to the left of me, jokers to the right. Here I am, stuck in the middle with you. Yes, I'm stuck in the middle with you.
Jerry from New Jersey.
What show is this, Dick Morris?
I said the Dick Morris and Doug Dipierro show.
You must have said it before the mic was on.
Yeah,
I
okay.
just want to say one thing about Joe Piscopo. He is a pisser. And it's the vice chairman of the board. That's good. He is great.
Let's go to Jerry in New Jersey.
Hey, Jerry in New Jersey.
Boys, how are you?
We're good.
Good.
The boys.
The Democrats really had a great plan going forward. They've been planning it for what, years, decades? Say that illegals need to have a driver's license just because.
Yep.
And then they, of course, infiltrated the driver license bureau to get them registered to vote. They're amazing.
Then a glitch in the system.
The motor voter bill, which everybody supported, I supported because, if you're illegal, you still need to be able to drive.
I didn't support it.
Has turned out to be an absolute invitation to fraud.
So what else, Jerry?
There was a reason for it. I mean, that's how they got them on the voting rolls.
Yeah, that's right.
It's frightening. They just keep thinking and scheming and corrupting and
well,
getting
but the
away
SAVE
with it.
Act that looks like now is going to pass, I think will stop that effectively.
You think Thune will pass it?
Yeah, I think he'll have to now. It passed the House for the fourth time.
Yeah.
But it's now part of the Defense Appropriations Bill. So if they don't pass it, the DOD does not get funded, and the farmers don't get their money. So I think they're now going to have to do it.
But I don't trust Thune.
Yeah, you shouldn't.
No.
Okay, Trump
Thank you,
says...
Jerry.
Thank you
so much.
Trump says that the nuclear deal with the U.S. is going to help Saudi Arabia build nuclear power plants is contingent on the Saudis accepting and joining the Abraham Accords. The goal of Trump for 2 years has been to get Saudi Arabia to join the Abraham Accords. Abraham Accords say you have to have normal relations with Israel, normal trade relations, and it opens the door to vast investments in the Middle East. And Saudi Arabia has resisted joining it. A lot of Arab countries have joined, including Egypt, and now it looks like they will be forced to do so.
Dick, let me ask you this. Trump's first term, wasn't he had things happening with Israel and the Saudis and different... what was that about? Was that
that was the Abraham Accord.
Also,
but one of the amazing things that nobody talks about these days is Trump has solved the Gaza problem. There's no war going on there because of Donald Trump. I mean, Israel still has work to do, but it's unbelievable. But tell them about the homicide rate, Doug. This is incredible.
Crime rates are on the decline in the U.S. cities, with the national homicide rate falling by 18%, inching closer to a historic low, the Council on Criminal Justice said. The Council on Criminal Justice released its mid-year report examining patterns for 13 types of crimes in 36 cities, U.S. cities. It found that 9 of the 13 crimes were on the decline through the mid-2026. Several possibilities were highlighted as having potential links to declining crime rates, including changes in criminal justice strategies, technological advantage, and shifts in society and culture.
BS. None of that is what it is deportations.
That's right.
We've thrown 3 million people the hell out of the country, and the homicide rates have declined.
Right.
And mayors and police chiefs all over America are taking victory laps. But it's because of the deportations.
And they know they have, the Trump administration has their back. That's why, just like people in general, our culture today, when I talk to people on the street, and I do, everyone, they feel as though they could talk, that they're proud to be a Trump guy, or they could have an argument with someone and not be called a racist.
Democratic voters want America to be more like Europe.
Of course.
Doug?
Yeah, right. In every area of the economy, the U.S. is blowing away Europe. We've noted that even residents of Mississippi and West Virginia, 2 of our poorest states, have higher living standards today than the average European. So you have to be a nitwit to want the American economy to be more like Europe. After all, why chase the losers? The results of a new Scott Rasmussen poll are revealing and disturbing. He found in a survey of 1,000 registered voters that well more than half of Democrat voters think the U.S. should be more like Europe. Only 18% of Republicans believe this, but a 44% plurality of independents do. Maybe they should go over there and spend a little time and see what's happening.
And I repeat the earlier story. Under Trump, 2 terms, the median household income, adjusted for inflation, has risen by $10,000.
That is amazing. And what did Europe? We talked about 2%?
Yeah, nothing.
4%, yeah, right.
So tell me about Speaker Johnson.
Speaker Mike Johnson on Tuesday indicated he would support expanding the House prohibition on sexual relationships between lawmakers and staff members. I can't believe it would be acceptable in any situation, Johnson said. You have a role where you have members of Congress and their subordinates and staff members. I think it's inappropriate, and as it would be in any workplace, and most companies have that. So that's what I don't care about that.
So we're going to a break, and when we come back, we'll talk about a major change in the civil rights law.
This is the Dick Morris Show on 77 WABC. It's Sunday, and you know what that means. Here's Dick Morris on 77 WABC.
Clowns to the left of me, jokers to the right. Here
Welcome back to the Dick Morris and Doug Dipierro Show, sponsored by the Patriot Gold Group. Let's go to Russ in White Plains. Hi, Russ.
Hey, Dick. Hey, between your associations with Roy Cohn and Jerry Nadler, I don't know how you ever passed a White House background check. I want to ask you about gerrymandering, but, you know, I looked at your high school picture. You're a really handsome guy then. But tell me, one quick question. I recall hearing that you installed Jerry Nadler as high school president in order to divert student fees to the math and chess clubs and starve the sports teams, which had to use worn-out equipment. Is that true, or is that just...
Not math and chess, debating. I was head of the debating team, and our budget was so small, we couldn't raise a $90 budget. We couldn't go to any upstate tournaments.
Wow.
So
Great.
I sponsored Jerry Nadler to take over the student government, and he won this presidency. And I used that to increase the debating team budget to like $1,000 a year.
Wow.
And we were able to go to tournaments all over the country. And one of the tournaments, and I won all the debates, and that permitted me to get into Columbia.
Oh, my son benefited 40 years later, Dick, and I have to thank you. But like they say, follow the money, right?
Yep.
But what I want to ask you is about this race gerrymandering. Is it a bad thing because race is immutable, like sex?
Yeah.
And would it make sense to do a sex gerrymander? I mean, I remember...
No, it is a bad thing, Russ, because we know that whites will vote for a black. Look at Barack Obama. And the theory that they would not, which was true when the Civil Rights Act passed in 1965, meant that to get blacks into Congress, you had to design districts that didn't have any whites in them. And as a result, 20 congressmen in the South were gerrymandered into all black, all Democratic districts, and they elected blacks. But now it's clear that whites will vote for a black, and these are unconstitutional. It's wrong to gerrymander based on race. It's wrong to have anything based on race or gender. But party enrollment, it can be, because that it can change.
Yeah, a lot of people are going from MAGA to DSA. I worry about that. But with residential segregation, it yields segregated schools. I don't know why they just don't use residential segregation to district. But, you know, people made a career out of manipulating voter rolls. I mean, you know Jerry Skurnick 40 years ago. These political operatives live off of this.
Yeah.
And but I appreciate your great
well, thank you.
fellas.
Thank you. Thanks for
Bye-bye.
knowing everything about my background.
I didn't even know that, Dick.
The Department of Education has made a major policy change. Under Biden and until Trump, till now, they were able to use statistical evidence of a preponderance of blacks over whites in schools to prove that the school was segregated. Now they've eliminated that, and they've said that instead you need actual evidence of discrimination. A disproportionate outcome for students of different races is not enough to trigger the Civil Rights Act. An absolutely crucial finding that will have implications all over the country, because it's true, and they've now stopped that. Thank goodness. It's a great change. Let's go to Robert in Yonkers. Yeah. Okay.
Robert in Yonkers.
Good afternoon, guys. So I just heard it again, the term DSA. And for me, the term democratic socialist of a socialist is an oxymoron.
Yeah.
It should not be used. And I keep hearing it over and over again.
Well, that's what they call themselves because they want to stress that they're not communists and they don't believe in violent overthrow of the government.
It's a Marxist insurgency that we've been going through,
right?
And it's in a crisis mode right now. This was told to us by Yuri Bezmenov, who warned us in 1987 that if we didn't turn things around, that things would get very, very bad. And he said by the time the third generation is indoctrinated through what he used to do was ideological subversion, because he defected to the West, he said the country collapses from within.
Yeah.
So we get people calling in and talking about that. And now you get people, major networks are saying Democrats, Socialists of America.
Yeah.
It doesn't exist.
You're right.
They just made that up.
It's an oxymoron. Yeah, you're right. But
it's a long march,
but
Dick.
thank goodness for it. I want the Democratic Party to become socialist. I want to defeat them. On Tuesday, August 4th, in Michigan, there's a crucial primary for Senate. And I hope that El Said, the Marxist, the communist, wins that primary because we'll pick up that Senate seat. Gary Peters, the senator from Michigan, is retiring. And in that open seat, we have a heck of a shot if the Democrats nominate this communist in their primaries. So thank God for the DSA. It's going to permit us to win Congress this year and win the presidency in 28 and win the elections of 30 and 32.
And thank God for Dick Morris's show. It's been an honor, Dick Morris.
Well, thank you. Great being with you, Doug.
And Roxana, thank you also.
Thank you, Rock.
The Rock.
Okay, bye-bye.
No. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
No.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.